Main flaws in this argument? I would say that the premise that many such companies are doing well is quite subjective. Very clear quantitative figures suggesting the proportion of companies doing well, being profitable, out of the total companies which received VC funding would be an important data to have, and to have very clear numbers that what kind of profitability, what kind of percentages that they are maintaining. So very subjective phrases rather than quantitative analytical backing. It is quite possible that when the VC firms first came to the country, there were many young companies which were doing well and they needed investments. And therefore, identifying the high potential companies was a lot easier. Now, with certain years gone by, it would be a bit difficult because the best ones have already been taken. Lack of numerical analysis. You are suggesting that heavy investments be made into all future companies backed by VC funding. And there are no numbers anywhere. The author needs to have very clear financial estimates as well as projections to come up with such a proposal. The numbers are completely missing. Lack of numerical analysis. The author suggests to sustain rather than to flourish. This is already a conglomerate. It must be looking at growing further. Suddenly a struggle for sustenance seems quite out of the place. The author has not given any evidence about the conglomerate struggling anywhere. The plans recommended must be for growing further rather than struggling to avoiding extinction. Invest heavily in all future companies. This is very serious generalization. The conglomerate would be a lot better off if it chooses companies which best align with the vision of the conglomerate and business models which the conglomerate understands. Remember, the VC companies, owing to their expertise in identifying potential businesses, are also likely to better judge when to stop investing, when to exit. An insight that probably the conglomerate may not have. So blindly mimicking the investments of the VC firms without understanding the underlying logic may do more harm than good. These are the major flaws in this argument. And if you were to write an essay covering all of these, a good structure, as I always suggest, would be to have an introduction. The introduction, to begin with, must very clearly convey that you are not convinced with the argument. The argument in its current state is full of flaws and is not convincing. This stand that you are not convinced has to come up very clearly right in the first paragraph. Thereafter, if you have figured out all the 6 flaws here, or suppose you identified 5. If you've identified 5, you did a good job at this one. If you've identified 5 flaws, write 1 paragraph for each flaw, however small. Have a new paragraph for describing each flaw, and then have a very clear conclusion which always suggests that on the basis of these reasons, these shortcomings, the argument in its current state is not convincing. So an introduction, 1 paragraph for each flaw, and a conclusion suggesting that on the basis of the aforesaid analysis, the argument is not convincing in its current way. This would be the right structure overall. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching.